Overall, it just sounded better in my opinion. So the winner for sound is going to be Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Audio Inside Scoop. Today we're going to jump back in time a little bit. We covered these two products in a Here With Me segment, but I hadn't gotten around to doing a full review just yet. They're both awesome little options though, and definitely worth checking out. Now, I already took them both out of the box to do our Here With Me segment earlier, like I mentioned, but I did film it to provide that unboxing experience for you guys. So let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick before going any further. There you go. Now I'll just do a little throw the boxes out of the way kind of reveal. And there you go. Boom, they are out of the box. Now, first thing that I want to talk to you about here is the model names. You'll notice in some locations that there is a SoundCore Mini3 and in others there is a SoundCore Mini3 Pro, but they are almost identical, aside from the little light ring thingy. Similarly, you'll notice that there is a Skullcandy Mini and a Skullcandy Mini XT. This tends to cause some confusion, so let's tackle that right out of the gates. Basically, some stores such as Walmart, Best Buy, Target, and so forth, they get with the manufacturers and they request an exclusive version of products. Typically tech specs, sound, most things remain identical, but now the store can say, hey, if you want this pretty light ring or this specific colors, you have to come to us to get it. The real motivation for stores to do this is it also gets them out of price matching things and provides loopholes for market gouging and other things, but hey, that's not the story for today. That's a story for another day. The key point to remember here is that 9 times out of 10, the exclusive is pretty much a rebranded identical product or a recolored identical product or a reskinned identical product. Now, anyways, instead of boring you guys with the corporate headachy mess that is sales and retail and distribution and whatnot, let's talk about the real reason that you guys are here and dive into some specs on these two products. First off, let's talk price. The SoundCore Mini3 retails for $40.99 and the Skullcandy Terrain Mini retails for $39.99, so only $1 difference between the two, so your decision likely isn't going to be based on price. As for size, you can see they are kinda in the same realm, but the SoundCore is significantly more compact. The Skullcandy is coming in at 4.1 by 3.5 by 3.5, the SoundCore at 3.3 tall and 2.8 wide by, well, 2.8 deep because it's a circle. So, you know, same dims on the width and the depth. Anyways, to give you an idea of the difference, here is a side-by-side close-up and a side-by-side top-over to show you the real difference, and it is pretty significant. Next we have weight, and the SoundCore is a bit lighter as well. The SoundCore is 0.5 pounds, while the Skullcandy is 0.8 pounds. So not a huge difference here, but when you're looking at this size speaker, it is always kind of negligible when it's under a pound. You don't really notice a huge difference, but it does come in a little bit lighter. Now, frequency range, I've noticed that in this kind of category, it's a little bit difficult to find on speakers this size unless you're looking at like top brands like JBL, Klipsch, Marshall, and so forth. But I did find some info through external testers on the SoundCore that claim that it gets down to 90 Hertz, and that sounds about right for the size and price point and the tech and everything. But question marks here are going to represent my lack of hard information, as this is not manufacturer confirmed. As for the Skullcandy, I could not find info at all, even through external reviewers and testers, so I'm not going to say anything really here. I'm going to leave it blank on this category. I would estimate, however, that it is around the same 90 Hertz range bottom end, but again, nothing listed, so I can't say for sure. Really can't say for sure on either of the products, but we're going to go ahead and leave that kind of a mystery here. Take this with a grain of salt. As for battery, Skullcandy is showing 14 hours of battery life, while the SoundCore is showing 15. Not enough really to sway one way or the other here, but the SoundCore does technically come out on top in this category. Lastly, we have our Bluetooth chip to discuss, and the SoundCore is showing 5.0, while the Skullcandy shows 5.3. So the Skullcandy does come out on top here with the later Bluetooth chip. And that's all I have based on readings and spec research and such. very similar in most categories, so I think it's all gonna come down to these next tests. I'm gonna go ahead and head out and do some testing, and I will be back with you guys shortly with my thoughts. I'll see you soon. All right, so I'm back and let's dive right into it today. Let's go ahead and throw up our charts of our 4 usual categories of price, lifestyle, connectivity, and sound. So first off, price. They are both very similar retail, with both coming in right around that $40 mark. As such, with there only being a $1 difference between the two, I'm gonna call it a tie here. That said, I think if you dig around, price is definitely going to vary all over the place. So shop around, guys. Now, lifestyle. Lifestyle I am going to give to the SoundCore, but not by much. They both have these little straps to aid in your carrying around. They both feel super well made and like they could really take a beating if you were to throw it at them. They are both IP67 rated, which let's take a break real quick and I'll show you the water test. So I do still do my waterproof testing, and honestly the reason I do it is not really to say, hey, this is waterproof. If they weren't waterproof, they wouldn't have the rating. That's official testing that they have gone through in order to gain that waterproof rating. Basically, what I'm looking for in the waterproofing is the difference between the two. Some speakers float, some speakers don't. Some speakers, when they float, they flip upright so you can actually hear them playing while they float. Some speakers, when you take them out of the water, they sound like garbage until they dry out. They're still waterproof rated. They still function after that, but they sound terrible because the grill cloth will soak up all that water and almost sound like you have a blown speaker. So while I do expect all of these to be waterproof, I also expect that there is going to be some differences in how they function in the water and how they function when they come out of the water. So first off, both of these float, which is amazing. So if you want to take it out on the boat or something like that, you can accidentally drop it over the side and you'll be able to retrieve it without it sinking to the bottom of the lake. If you want to take it to the beach and the water washes up, yeah, it may drift away, but it'll be floating the whole time. So you stand a better chance at finding it if you take it to the beach and it gets carried away by the water. Next, the Skullcandy, I noticed immediately sounded exactly the same when I pulled it out of the water. The SoundCore, however, it did take a moment, but when you dry it off, when you beat it against the towel, within like 5 seconds it's back to normal. So I would call both of these equivalent, and on their waterproof rating, I think that I would take these guys in identical areas. So I am comfortable with both of these guys' waterproof rating. Now, first place where they differ is that the SoundCore actually has a microphone, whereas the Skullcandy does not. This is not a huge deal to some people. Like me, I don't really care, but to some people this is a deal breaker. So I thought it was very important to mention. The next place where they differ is their carryability. I don't know if that's a word, but that's fine. Anyways, their carryability, the ability to take them with you everywhere you go. The Skullcandy is a little bit larger, and with the kind of rubber-like edges, it's a little harder to slide into a pocket. It's way too large to slide into a pocket, whereas this one you could almost put in your back pocket, front pocket, and carry it around everywhere you go with you. They're both similar in size, so if you're carrying by the strap, you're not going to really notice much of a difference there. But if you want to conceal carry, I guess you'd call it, put it in your pocket, toss it in your backpack, the SoundCore is going to take up less space than the Skullcandy. Now, connectivity. Both of these guys are going to have the ability to multicast, so multi-speaker pairing, so you can put a big group of these together and listen to them all at the same time. Now, I could be wrong here, but I think Skullcandy, from what I could find, only offers the option to multicast a mono signal, whereas Skullcandy offers the option to multicast a mono signal, but it also gives you the option to put it into a stereo pair. So what this means is that you'll have a left and a right dedicated channel to give you that stereo separation. So Skullcandy does come out in the lead there. I don't know for sure. I couldn't figure out if the SoundCore offers this option. So if one of you guys knows, put it in the comment below and let me know. But at this time, I'm gonna go base this on what I could find so far. So the SoundCore does not have this option. You have multicast only. Skullcandy, you have multicast or stereo pair. That said, SoundCore actually offers an app to customize your listening experience, while Skullcandy does not. Skullcandy does have an app, and it's possible that they push to add Bluetooth speaker control to it in the future, but as of right now, it only appears to function with their headphones. Skullcandy is ahead in their Bluetooth chip though, with Bluetooth 5.3, where SoundCore is still running 5.0. So I am going to call this a win for Skullcandy, having the latest Bluetooth chip and the ability to stereo pair in addition to the multicasting speaker options, but it is going to be a very small lead. So it's all really going to come down to this next category, which is sound. We are pretty much a tie all the way so far, guys, with each category being very thin lead in one direction or the other. It has been super close thus far, but sound I think is where we are going to see the bigger difference. Now, this time I actually started with the side-by-side listenings and they here with me, so I had a great deal of listening in with these guys before they even left the studio. One really interesting item that I saw in this portion that I want to note here before doing anything else is that the loudness factor, which speaker has more oomph, which speaker can push harder. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and flash back to the Here With Me segment here. Check out the meter at 50% volume. Now it's 70%. Now at 100%. The Skullcandy is louder at lower source volumes, but the SoundCore actually seems to have higher max output with 100% source volume. The reason that I bring this up is that it is a little bit strange. Typically you see them gradually go up and maybe one will catch up as it goes, but it's weird that it flip-flops completely. This did show up in the pink noise test as well, as I do a single 100% volume listening and the SoundCore took the cake here. Here's a sample. And as you can see, the SoundCore is actually coming in about 3 to 5 dB higher at about a foot away. Anyways, let's move on from the studio and go to various size rooms. I did nix the four-wheeler portion here because this size speaker is not meant for that. We've seen that in past videos and they just can't keep up. So I would give it the same rating as like the 10 mile per hour zone as in other videos. But anyways, from here we move to various rooms, some bigger, some smaller. Here's some outdoors listening. Now, where did we land with all of this? Well, if you're like me and sound is the most important aspect, the Skullcandy is going to be the winner. More depth, more sound information throughout. It was able to dig deeper in the low frequencies. Overall, it just sounded better in my opinion. So the winner for sound is going to be Skullcandy. That said, it did not do it by far. So saying that Skullcandy is the winner in sound is not going to be enough for us. I want to tell you why I feel the Skullcandy wins in the sound department. So basically what we're looking at is we have the SoundCore, which if you flip it down here, you'll notice that the bottom is a open bottom, so it makes me feel as though it's kind of a downfiring woofer to give you a little bit more bass response. Skullcandy, however, has a passive radiator on the bottom and a passive radiator on the top, allowing for cabinet expansion and kind of more of a clean bass response. So, interesting comparison between the two. I'm not going to say one is better than the other, but I tend to prefer the cleaner bass over the quick and dirty bass. Now, I imagine that Skullcandy went this way in order to utilize the table, whatever it happens to be sitting on, as a reflective surface for that bass response. Whereas the Skullcandy is going to get more consistent bass throughout no matter where you put it. You'll notice that in some of my listenings, they're hanging from branches, they're hanging from fences, they're just hanging around and not necessarily sitting on a table. The Skullcandy is actually going to get better sound and more consistent sound no matter where you put it, whereas the SoundCore's bass response and sound is going to be dependent on the surface that it's sitting on top of. And we see this in every speaker. It's not just little speakers, it's not just these guys. The room is a huge factor in how a speaker is going to sound, and that's why we kind of test in multiple scenarios. We test all over the house, we test all over the woods, we test everywhere in order to ensure that we aren't just saying, hey, this one's better for no reason at all, or just it's better in my room, but it could be different in yours. As far as high frequencies go, the SoundCore tended to be louder, but a little bit more tinny sounding, so almost like transistor radio style, whereas the Skullcandy was a little bit cleaner, similar to the bass. It's just a more well put together design, whereas the SoundCore is like loud for the sake of being loud. So in Synopsis, which should you go with if you're deciding between the two? For me, it's going to be the Skullcandy. We were fairly well matched between the two until we got to the listenings, and its ability to have just more clean bass, more clean treble, more of a soundstage pushed it ahead in the sound category for me. It's small enough for me to where I'm not going to notice a difference going to the smaller SoundCore. So I think for me, the winner today is going to be the Skullcandy. I do want to hear from you guys though. Do any of you have these speakers? Have you tinkered with either of them, and did you come to the same conclusion as I did? Let me know in the comments. Now, typically we'd have a Here With Me segment to put these side by side as the review is complete, but I already did that. As such, we're gonna dive into 2 more brand new speakers and take these guys' big brothers out for a competition. The SoundCore Flare 2 and the Skullcandy Terrain XL are coming next. In addition to that, don't forget guys, we still have a contest going on. We have not hit 1,000 subscribers yet, so we are still waiting to give out that Klipsch Detroit. Hit that subscribe button below, tell all your friends, get us to 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible so we can get that Detroit out to one of you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you again soon for a brand new episode of Audio Inside Scoop.